Do it, Tommy. Do it.
Welcome back to the
That's not the it. Oh. Do the clock ticking. Do the clock's ticking. The clock's ticking.
I already screwed up. This season sucks.
We're all getting older. This movie's getting older. Our podcast is getting older.
I don't want to do the ticking. It's too real. I hear the ticking in my heart.
This all starts like we're tardy on doing this podcast. This movie starts with ticking, and are we in for a bomb?
That's what I think.
Wait, we haven't even started the show, but I don't think that we're late with this podcast. I
don't think we're late with this podcast.
Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, it's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the show where normally we've been covering the Indiana Jones movies 1 minute at a time. Now we're going to be discussing the Dial of Destiny 3 minutes at a time. My name is Tom Taylor.
My name is Pete Mummert.
And I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter, the intern.
And yes, we are launching into Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny from the year 2023. As we record this, it is still 2024. This movie isn't even a year old. So I guess that is why we're doing it 3 minutes at a time. It's not a rush job. It's more of a, like even Crystal Skull. By the time we got to Crystal Skull, that was like 10 years old or something. And we and the fans and everybody, all the indie fans had like, a decade to, steep with the movie and everything and know it and have their feelings about it. And so it feels a little not odd or wrong to be doing this now, but it just feels like maybe 1 minute at a time wasn't, it didn't warrant the same kind of thing. I don't know.
Even 3 minutes at a time, people are in for like an entire year of this insufferable podcast anyway.
Yeah. You better have come here for a good reason because you're screwed. No, come on. This will be fun. If you're new to this show, I don't know why you're starting with Dial of Destiny, but God love you and welcome. But yes, you can go back and listen to our coverage of Raiders and Temple of Doom and Last Crusade and yes, even Crystal Skull. We do those 1 minute at a time.
Coverage, like we're a news, like we're Walter Cronkite.
This just in. Apparently, some archaeologist has broken something and he's being a jerk about it. Jerry, we're with you live.
Well, as you can see, there's black ice on the streets. Well, yeah.
What was that?
I don't know.
Well, no, it's growing up in Ohio. I feel like black
ice. Why did you
ice.
Do like the black ice?
Black ice. Because growing up in Ohio, I was like, all right, they needed to create some sort of news.
Black ice and your kids. What you need to watch out for.
How bad is the black ice out there, Stanley?
What? You mean ice?
Well, I wouldn't recommend anybody come out tonight. If you got the kids home and you have a warm, hot soup, then just stay away.
A warm, hot soup.
Yeah, whatever that.
What if you're having a gazpacho? That sucks.
You guys really don't want to talk about Dial of Destiny, do you? It's so obvious.
Well, listen, there's a ticking.
There is a ticking. You would think that would light a little fire under our butts, but apparently not. Okay, we're talking about minutes 1 through 3 of Dial of Destiny, and these begin with the logos for Disney, Paramount, and Lucasfilm. That one dissolves into a scene at a European castle under siege during World War II as a hooded prisoner is dragged out of a truck by 2 Nazi soldiers. This prisoner is none other than Indiana Jones, who is questioned by a Nazi colonel named Weber before being taken away. And then Dr. Voller presents... we say Fuller, don't we? Mm-hmm. Dr. Fuller presents to the colonel the Lance of Longinus. I always giggle when I say that word. The lance of something or other. The sword that drew Christ's blood, which Hitler's a nuts about, though Fuller seems to suspect something is off about this lance. And these minutes end with the colonel ordering that the woods be searched for other spies.
Well, I started by asking if we're in for a bomb. And this starts with you hear bombs falling. And I always thought it was interesting because in World War II, I think the Germans started it, but I think both sides ended up doing it, is they would attach whistles on the bombs to make them more intimidating.
To make them sound like they do in the cartoons.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. But
really?
I always kind of thought, like, it seems pretty intimidating already I don't know why,
Yeah.
why like a penny whistle, like, or not a penny whistle, like a whoop is going to make it scarier.
I guess they're physically small, so if you don't see it, you wouldn't be scared. But then if you hear the sound that you know is associated with
Why?
it,
I feel like it'd be scarier if you don't know it's coming.
Oh.
Like there could be a bomb blow up any second rather than, I'm going to hear it first.
So you don't subscribe to like the Hitchcock sort of thing where you want to know that there's a bomb, you just don't know when it's going to go off.
Now you put it that way.
See?
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Pete, maybe you can walk me, help me on this one. Is it possible that what we're hearing at the very beginning of this movie is the dial of destiny? And I don't really know what happens by the end of the movie, but for some reason we're stuck in a loop, and the dial of destiny actually brings us back to this point every time.
Oh.
Yes.
It's not a clock, it's not a bomb, it's the dial of destiny, and it keeps looping us back to this
starting
scene.
Starting a podcast talking about a movie in minute detail.
Movie you'll never get out of. It might seem like it's 2 hours long, but it takes you years and years and years. That's a good question.
We get the Disney logo, which I don't really have any thoughts on, and then we get the Lucasfilm logo. And does that mean anything anymore? Or I guess does anything mean anything anymore? But like, is Lucasfilm still a thing? Is that?
It is. I mean, it's a company. It's a.
So they are like, yeah. I wasn't actually sure. But,
it is. Yeah. I mean, Disney bought them, so.
Well, I know Disney bought them. I just didn't know if like. It's interesting that it's a Disney. Like, it's not just Disney that they put.
It is a little weird. I mean, I guess when they buy, I don't know how companies work, but yeah, like they bought Marvel, they bought Lucasfilm, but then they also bought like 20th Century Fox. It's not like you're going to have like a Disney thing and then the 20th Century Fox.
But did they buy Paramount?
No, but Paramount still had its finger in the Indiana Jones pie, which sounds gross, but that's how it works.
Did it like that was a question I had. Like, did they have their finger in this pie particularly, or did they just put that in there for continuities because every other movie has it?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be able to do it just for fun and
yeah.
I think we had Disney and Lucasfilm present, and then in association with Paramount Pictures once the movie starts. So I don't know what that means. I don't know, like some legally Paramount has some sort of. I'm sure somebody out there can explain it to us. I don't care that much, but what I do care about though, and everybody went nuts for I don't know how long we knew this movie was coming before it came out. I forget when they announced it. Like officially, I know it got like started and stopped a few times, but everyone was saying, "Oh, okay, now that Disney owns Lucasfilm, is it still going to be like this? Is the mountain going to happen? Is the Paramount Mountain that started every single movie? Is that going to? How are they going to do that? Are they going to do something with the Disney logo, with the castle? Is Paramount still involved? And what we do get is you get Disney, and then you get Paramount, and then you get the Lucasfilm, which is a big triangle with Lucasfilm in it. Or I'm sorry, rectangle, and that fades to a rectangular lock on the back of a truck. And if you blink, you would absolutely miss it. Almost to the point I've seen like behind the scenes stuff with like, oh yeah, we did this thing and we lined it up and it was all
that's
great.
Crazy.
Wait, did you?
Know that.
I know exactly.
I absolutely would not have known that if you hadn't said that. Wow.
It's almost not a thing. They put some effort into it, but it's not a thing. And after years and years of all this, they just went from rectangle to rectangle, and it's a little underwhelming, and I feel bad, especially when the movie starts in a castle.
Understated. Say understated.
It's understated. Okay, we can say that. Yeah, but it's really they have the Disney logo, and people are even saying like when they're just pie in the sky thinking about what would happen, like maybe the Disney castle, and it starts in a castle. They actually do start in a castle, but they don't do anything with the Disney castle.
And the Paramount Mountain could have like warped into one of the mountains and surrounding the castle. Like they could have done stuff. Yeah.
Actually, what I really wanted, I wanted the Disney castle to morph into the Paramount Mountain.
Oh, that would have been funny.
I did. That would have been really cool. And then the mountain, morphs into whatever your choice.
Yeah, that's not what we got though.
No, that's not what we got.
Although I will say, right around the time the back of this truck opens up and this prisoner gets dragged out, I was sitting in the theater next to Jerry Porter, my co-host, and he reached over and he put his hand on my hand. He was all excited about the movie. And then I picked up his hand and I gave him a little kiss on the hand because we're all excited to see the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, well,
That's
what is
nice.
it? 40 years, and I mean, we wouldn't be friends if Indiana Jones
Right.
hadn't
That's
come
all we
out.
have.
No, it's a very
All hanging by a
tenuous-
thread.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting, we see, the Disney logo opens up and it's like celebrating 100 years, and you're like, oh, Harrison Ford is almost as old as Disney.
Yeah.
Kind of incredible.
And I know
Yeah.
you don't mean that as like an age joke or anything. You just mean like,
No.
this stuff has
Yeah.
been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
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 So, all
What
right.
is strange, speaking of like the opening credits and everything and stuff like that, is all we get in the way of opening credits is Disney and Lucasfilm present in association with Paramount Pictures, and then you get the title Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and that's it. I think this is the first this is the first Indiana Jones movie where you don't get like the full
Oh.
cast and writers
Yeah.
and director and everything and stuff. It
Okay.
just goes, and they don't even give us a outside of Splotzenburg 1944
Oh.
or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
know the year or the place.
Off the
That's
coast
another
of
first.
Portugal.
Off the coast
Yeah.
of Portugal, yeah.
Wow.
It's a little
They
and
don't
I don't think
do that.
and I don't think they do it when they do the time jump later on into like the 60s. I
Yeah.
don't think we ever get one of these.
I'm
Is that
actually-
because
I've
this is like
triangulated the date,
oh
but I'm not sure. I haven't triangulated the location.
okay. Well, we know if you take
Huh.
a train to Berlin.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
That
Just
tells
about
us-
anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I did notice about the first 3 minutes is there are a lot of sort of throwbacks or callbacks or little sort of felicitous touches that we see. One that I think from the jump, where you have the Disney castle and you see the logo, and you can tell, you're like, oh, that's a very nice homage to how Crystal Skull was filmed. Just like the background with that, sort of
does look a
fake
little like Crystal Skull-ish, yeah.
sunrise. Yeah,
Yeah,
fake
yeah.
sunrise
That's
flash,
funny.
Yeah.
fake dawn, fake sunset. It's just like I watched it. The first thing I thought of is I was like, oh, it's there's a Disney castle, and it's also filmed like Crystal Skull.
Well, I was thinking of Sisyphus, like immediately, because like Indy gets thrown down and then they pull him right back on his feet, and I was immediately thinking, oh, it's Sisyphus. But then when I first thought that, I was like, oh, is that a nod to like classical antiquity? But then I was like, oh, I think it's just a nod that we're we're just gonna keep doing this through
Keep
all
getting knocked
eternity.
down. We'll keep getting up. Yeah.
Yep, getting
Right.
back up to another Indy movie.
I have the stupid note. Harrison Ford is the Elephant Man because that bag looks
Yeah.
just like the bag over
Yeah.
the elephant.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
You're all welcome.
we get the bells or the clocks. The clock ticking turns into a bell tolling, which sounds kind of ominous.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
I kind of
nice.
didn't notice
Yeah.
that. That's good.
Yeah, for whom does it?
Well,
toll?
do we all agree the clock speeds up, right?
It does.
Ticking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not just my heart. Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I was trying to figure out like when and where this takes place, and I'll get into when later. But I think it's a nod to Hermann Goering's Karin Hall, like it was this hunting lodge where he had completely packed it with looted art. But
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
it's not that, because that was on the Eastern Front, like that was just outside of Berlin, and this is very obviously on the Western Front somewhere.
Crazy.
Yeah.
If only they had told us, then we could verify that. But no.
But it's interesting. Like it seems like they've waited kind of late to start evacuating this art, because like
Yeah.
it's not just bomb, like they're not just being bombed from the air, like there are machine guns firing, like there's a battle, like you know,
Yeah.
within a few hundred meters or a few hundred feet from this place. Like it's
It all does seem kind of super weird. Like both, what are the Nazis doing? Like now, like, we're about to hear that, Berlin is in rubble or whatever, is in ruins. It's burning. They've lost the war. I kind of get the sense of like, okay, well, we haven't technically lost the war. It's not official. We can still do all this stuff and steal everything. So let's get to it. But it's also like, they're taking a train to Berlin, the city that we know has been destroyed.
Yeah.
Basically. It all seems kind of, and they're being shelled right now and everything.
well, that's weird, because in reality they did like start, sort of collecting all of their looted art, but they didn't send it to Berlin. They sent it down to the, down to the Austrian Bavarian border, like the Berchtesgaden. But it's interesting because I think time wise, Indy says Berlin's in rubble and the Fuhrer's in hiding, and I think he didn't retreat to his bunker until mid-January.
Oh, okay.
And Berlin fell at the end of May, so that puts us. We're somewhere between mid-January. I'm sorry, in the beginning of May. So we're somewhere like either in February, March, or April.
Okay. Of what, 45?
Of 1945.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not to be, yeah. I assumed it was, like, I don't know, April.
It's got to be because they're not wearing.
Like that.
Yeah, they're not wearing cold weather gear, like super cold weather gear. And the Battle of the Bulge was not too long. Took place sometime, and that was cold. So they're not wearing stuff like that. So this has got to be like April.
Would you say that this Nazi guy, is he sort of collecting all this stuff? He's a little like slap handsy, like watch your patties. You know what I mean? He's keeping the and I'm wondering. So is he planning? Does he know what Indy's talking about? Is he like, yeah, I know the Fuhrer's in hiding. Yeah, I know Berlin's in rubble.
I think he does. He's got that little eye twitch right there when Indy says that. He goes,
I'm
Ixnay on the Hitler hay.
I love this guy because he's it's so weird because he goes, "You were alone, spy."
Oh, that weirds me
alone?
out.
And it's exactly like your mom. Very
Yeah.
gently and softly trying to wake you up so you don't get startled when you wake up in the morning. It's like so gentle and so soothing. It's like
pleasant.
You were alone.
And I'm imagining the script where it says, he asks, "Are you alone?"
I love that he read it this way.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then he asks, were you alone again?
And Indy doesn't, because I think he's speaking so gently, and he doesn't even register that he's talking to him. And Indy's like, doesn't answer him.
Like the way it's written, you could imagine that every sentence he says is followed by like a slap across the face with his gloves or something. Like he could just do like, "Spy,
Yeah.
you alone?" But he's just, "Hey, you good, buddy? You all right?
Yeah.
Want a cookie? Everything cool?" You guys, of course, recognize the actor who's playing. What's his name? Oh my God, what's his name? I just said his name. Weber. He of course, you both are excited to see him because he's Baron Strucker from Hydra from Avengers: Age of Ultron and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I knew you guys.
Is that a real movie or is that sounds like a game?
I just named a movie and a TV show.
Oh,
yeah.
They both sound fake, to be honest.
Thomas Kretschmann, that's the actor.
Yeah, he nailed it. But I think there were a lot. He's an SS. He's got the death's head on it. He's an SS officer, and I think a lot of the SS officers, highly placed FSS officers, were very well educated. Like a lot of them had PhDs. A lot of them were, it's sort of one of those things that people have always struggled to figure out is why these people who were so educated and quote unquote cultured could be so evil and sinister. And I feel like he kind of nails that. Like he's got like the soft, like, "You were alone." And then like he immediately goes into like screaming in a couple minutes. Like it's interesting how
he knows when to use it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the Elephant Man, elephant in the room, de-aged Harrison Ford, go.
Sure, I don't have any problem with it at all.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a hard time with it in the theater. Like, is it just it's inherently distracting because you know what you're seeing. You know that you're seeing a fake thing, and you're looking for the seams and everything. And at this point,
just talking about it in this minute right here because
Sure.
I suspect it'll get worse later when we see more of it. But I think in this quick little glimpse, I think it looks fine.
They do a really good job, but there's still like I always have the sense that the actor, and it's not just this movie, it's like any movie that does it. I always feel like they're being careful to not move their face too much because that's when it starts to show a little bit. They're being a little bit subdued with their face.
No, well, okay, that happens. And there's one line I like. He says, he says Berlin's in rubble, De Fuhrer's in hiding, and then he goes, "You lost."
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's a peculiar line, and it doesn't sound very indie to me.
It sounds like Crystal Skull indie to me.
It sounds like Crystal Skull indie to me, whereas like the first two lines are like perfect, and you're like, he probably didn't need to just yell "you lost" at the guy, Because, I mean, if anything, the guy's going to be like, no, did I? You know what I mean? He's gonna like, kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
And-
he seems surprised that this results in him being taken upstairs.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He actually literally says, hey, guys. And I'm like, that's a funny line again. We don't really need, that doesn't strike me as Indiana Jones. I mean, I'm not saying none of this does. I'm just saying those two lines. And I bring that up because I think when he does say that, for some reason, maybe they put the de-aging, like he doesn't move. When he says that, he doesn't seem, it seems a little inorganic.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest of it seems fine. Yeah, it seems great, and they're great lines.
Assuming that they did this solely because they were excited to use this technology and de-age Harrison Ford and have again a, early 80s Harrison Ford in a movie. If they didn't have that technology at all, if this was made like before this even existed, like would they have done this whole entire 1945 sequence at all, or would they have done it with like how would you feel if they just had like they did a Last Crusade and they just had like a younger actor playing Harrison Ford here?
Well, they did that in The Godfather too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like they had Marlon Brando.
Although, okay, I guess the difference is in Last Crusade, you'd never seen like a 13 or 15-year-old Indiana Jones, but you know what Indiana Jones looked like in 1945, so that'd be a little weird, I guess. Unless you had River Phoenix, except he'd be in his 50s and he's dead, so you can't do that.
He might not look very much like Indy at this point either.
Yeah. I don't. I feel I'm trying to shake the idea that they only had this entire sequence because they could de-age Harrison Ford and it'd be fun. Would the movie still work if they didn't have this and you hear about it later on in the movie is like either like just a backstory or a flashback where you don't even see Harrison Ford necessarily?
Well, okay, so is this a tie-in to Crystal Skull and Mac?
Well, I had like, where is Mac? Because Mac seems like because they fought together in just these situations.
In just those situations.
In Germany. Like, why wasn't
Germany
he here?
At the end. Yeah. I mean, they're tying it. I mean, look, I think it's a way of rejuvenating the, the franchise, and you're not expecting it. It's a hell of a surprise.
It's literally rejuvenating.
And they rip the bag off or the sack off, and so you're like, I don't know, it's definitely a nostalgic thing where you're like, oh my gosh, and of course they play the indie theme right there, dun 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 dun. And you're like, all right, so it works for me on many levels.
Yeah, it does for me.
You're looking at indie from like, I don't know, 1983, Indiana Jones looking. And, it's the first time you see them, and they play in the theme, and they're back in a very safe place, which is Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And so like everything about this is very,
very cozy.
very cozy and very,
cozy.
yeah, no, it's very, I mean, that for Indiana Jones, it all makes perfect sense. They're letting you land on a, cottonelle pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I can only speak on these 3 minutes. None of it
Yeah, I agree.
bothered me. It all looked great, and it was a surprise. And, I mean, you see that, and you're like, I don't know, your heart just goes, hooray!
I guess I'm a little bit of an old man in the sense, like, just with this sort of stuff at all. Like, but if you couldn't do that, for as long as I've been alive, you couldn't do that, and you had to figure out other ways of doing stuff. Either you recast, or you just didn't do it, or something. So
but this is
a
only
little
going to
bit
get...
of... Yeah.
It's like when people say... you could either look at this as the hottest year that we've ever had on Earth, or you could look at it as, since we've recorded temperatures, or you could look at it as the coolest year for the rest of our lives. I mean, you could kind of look at this as like, this is bad de-aging, but this is going to be like going forward. It's just going to get better and better and better. Like it's going to be like, this is.
And that's when we'll really be in trouble.
Yeah, you're making my heart go hooray again, Pete.
It took me speeding up.
But speaking of people's hearts going hooray, Tom might enjoy this. When the colonel goes, "You were alone, spy. You were alone," and Indy says, "I like to be alone."
Yeah,
is this true?
Apparently, everything,
he's not-
all the evidence we have is that Indy would love to be all by
Indy likes
himself.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because they tie that in a lot later in the movie.
Yeah.
I just assume that he's, if he's thinking back to like maybe acting through it, and he's just like, this is a woman who's asking me if I will date her.
Not now, doll. I want to be alone.
Yeah. Oh God, we did have all that Temple of Doom doll stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
It's been a long time, Jerry. We've been through a lot.
Forgot about the Temple of Doom doll. I'm not talking about the voodoo.
There's a speaking of like getting excited and all cozy and everything. There isn't a quick image here when they drag Indy upstairs and take him upstairs. Hey, come on, guys, and Fuller shows up. He's like, hey, no, I got to talk to Weber. I found this thing, and there's a quick shot that looks very, very Raiders of the Lost Ark of just a big fat old timey padlock against a wooden crate. That looks very much like Raiders of the Lost Ark to me.
Oh,
Or very much like Crystal Skull in the warehouse. I love it.
Pete, we're not gonna come on.
Well, okay, so here's
50-something episodes to go. Come on.
I did mention this. There's a lot of callbacks and a lot of things that are very familiar with all the other movies. Obviously, the theme of Nazis, of course. The sort of completely bizarre Disney Crystal Skull sky.
Yeah.
But there are a few things. Obviously, we have the wooden crate, the locked wooden crate, and you're like, okay, like the Ark of the Covenant. It looks very much like the crate from Raiders. One of the other things I noticed in this shot when they're interviewing Indy, there's that fireplace in the background, right out of Last Crusade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fireplace in Last Crusade too.
Yeah, and they're like, that's not by accident. Somebody's doing their homework,
Yeah, I agree.
Then we have this idea that the Nazis are assembling all this, the sort of famous art and gold and statues, whatever. They're pilfering all these things from different European places, which they did do, right. And you go, okay, where have I seen this before? Oh, the ending of Crystal Skull. The aliens
All right.
Yeah.
were creating they were creating a museum, right?
I thought you were going to say The
Something,
Train
or
by John Frankenheimer, but okay.
stealing everything. The aliens were stealing everything, or putting, taking all the different gold and the mummies and the swords and putting, the Buddhas and putting it all in one room.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, they got a lot of callbacks. And then the last one, I thought, okay, I don't see any Temple of Doom. And I was like, wait a minute. Look at Pete. You mentioned it. I think it may have slipped through your fingers, but you mentioned it. There's the skull little pin on top of there's the skull pin on top of the Nazi's hat. And I thought, there's the Temple of Doom. Remember when he had the little skull head dressing on, like when he's going to rip the heart out.
That's beautiful.
Mola Ram wore the same sort of head dressing with the skull. They really pack a lot in here.
They do. And we got our first fever dream thing that's going to carry through the entire movie. We get Mads Mikkelsen, who designed the Death Star apparently in Rogue One. Yeah. He plays Fuller, and he shows up, and he's a little de-aged, but he's young. He looks great. I know they're doing something to him, but
I thought his de-aging
really
looked worse than Indy's. That's interesting.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
Fine. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I think it's just interesting. We're both seeing the same thing and seeing different things.
Yeah.
I thought Indy looked fine and Mads looked weird. And you thought the other way around. That's funny.
Yeah. I guess he's a little sweaty little Nazi dude. So
these
maybe
are like Rorschach de-aging.
Yeah.
Wait, you remember how bizarre looking Tote was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you first saw Tote, you're like, there's something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
Like he's afflicted with evil or something.
Somebody get him a sandwich.
Yeah, but he does. Someone tell him to sit down and have a banana.
Yeah.
He's low in
Got
potassium.
low blood sugar. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've always said, and this is season 5, I'm dumb with movies, really dumb. And so I don't really notice the de-aging.
Okay.
I just am watching the movie. Yeah.
I like
big
that.
sucker.
You're Joe moviegoer. You just
I'm
Just what they
Definitely.
want, Jerry. You're falling right into
Yeah,
their
I know.
trap. No, that's a good way to do it.
we
No, I
get
like
that.
that.
We get the one of the few first close-ups we get is what's his name? Like before you almost see anybody, you see you see a guy whose face turns around. I think it's Indy's crony, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
what's-
Basil. Yeah.
yeah.
Basil, yeah, Basil. And it's fascinating. It's like they went to central casting and they're like, give me somebody who lives in a cuckoo clock. like just to let me know where I am. Like he's gonna it's just a very, I don't know what it is. It's just a very sort of, it's like he's gonna open up his coat and frankfurters are gonna fall out.
Yeah, and chocolate. That's it. Blocks of chocolate.
I don't know why. It just you're like before. Yeah, maybe they put him in instead of like, outside Dusseldorf.
Yeah, you got it. You're in Germany somewhere in the 40s. Just by looking at this guy. I'm just remembering now, he's one of the first spoilers I had for this movie. Like there were some pictures that came out of like him and Harrison Ford, like, in context of the movie, like after they've been in the water and they're walking up that hill and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, he's in this movie, Toby Jones? Wait, okay, he was in Captain America, First Avenger. So, okay, it's going to be a tie. Like the MacGuffin is going to be Thor's hammer. I did it. They're finally going to do it. They're going to cross over Marvel with Indiana Jones, and it's going to be great.
Oh,
and that is not what happened. But that would have been fun.
Oh yeah, the great times.
Great times, Pete. I'm telling you.
I didn't know who the guy was actually.
Oh, really? Oh, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah.
There is another shot when they take Indy upstairs and they're sort of dragging him through, and it looks a little bit like the Yale Law Library.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
What do you notice? Like during that scene, there's guys on the wall. Pete, did you notice this? There's like guys on the wall. Are they like collecting swords? Like taking the swords?
Yeah, I think they're
off the
taking everything
wall?
of value out of the castle. But it's
out of the castle.
It's interesting because it kind of makes you think like, I mean, because art is kind of a racket, like as a holding monetary value, because it's sort of like the reason this stuff is valuable is not because it's intrinsically beautiful or meaningful or valuable. It's because somebody says it has value, like because it has a provenance and a history. It's interesting because we value things because of the stories we tell ourselves about them, rather than what it actually is. So it's interesting. Like if these had been like Pottery Barn reproduction swords, they wouldn't have been up there. So I don't. I was just thinking about like it's interesting, but it's interesting that people still do this. Like they completely hoard valuable artwork whose original purpose was for people to look at and find meaning.
Yeah,
and people hoard it and lock it away in vaults so that nobody can see it because it's more valuable that way. Which I think is really interesting.
it's almost like people are jackasses.
So are they pilfering from the castle to ship to Berlin?
I think this is like a Goering situation where he's already looted this art from all kinds of other people, and they're now moving it from the castle to wherever.
Okay, so like Goering had he was storing it in
because
the castle.
it's his hunting lodge, like in real life, his hunting lodge.
No, I
was
remember
just packed with
that shit
priceless
was crazy.
artwork. Yeah.
Wasn't he like a heavy? Was it opium addict or
Yeah,
heroin addict?
yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So we get the Lance of Longinus.
This is a weird one. This is weird.
It's a
literally-
little bit of an Easter egg, because everybody's always said, like all the fans and all the nerds and everybody have always been like, oh, I bet the next, if they ever do another indie movie, it'll be the Spear of Destiny. Like that's what we'll go after.
Right.
But here's what's weird about that. There's literally a Spear of Destiny. There's literally a Lance of Longinus in the Hofburg Palace in Vienna, and you can go and see it today if you want. You could have gone to see it in 1945 if you want. It was in the exact same place. It had been there for a couple hundred years, and it's this exact lance. Like they didn't make a different lance. Like this is the Lance of Longinus that's in Vienna. That
really
has been in Vienna for I mean, if you look at it, it's the
but is that
exact
a fake? So I mean, this could be it. They're just saying, the one from Vienna is a big fat fake.
Well, the one from Vienna is a fake because they've. Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by fake. Like it's not the lance that Stad Price. It was from I think they dated it recently, and it was from like the 7th century at the earliest.
Oh, okay.
But
well, you know what?
there was
Yeah.
a king, like they used to use it in coronations, like the Holy Roman Emperor used to use
really?
that lance during the coronation. And one of them, and you can see it, he put a gold sleeve over the lance and he wrote like the lance that stabbed Christ. And that sleeve is on this lance.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's they didn't even take the sleeve off, which is what makes it weird. Like,
Yeah.
he would have known this. Well, this is the same sleeve and the same lance that's in the Hofburg Palace and the Imperial Treasury in Vienna. Like, this isn't.
But maybe they're like
their
maybe,
ally in the war. Like, they wouldn't have looted the
right.
Hofburg Palace. Like, it's just a weird thing.
Maybe this is like another fake, and he thought it was the real one because it's not the one in Vienna. So it's
But
like,
why does it also have the
I don't
like
know.
the 1300s, the 14th century gold sleeve added to it?
Well, they have like, I mean, don't they have like, I don't know, like 10 of them or something like that?
There
They're
are different
scattered-
versions of it.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's the one in particular that's been in their possession for 1,000 years that has that sleeve
Right.
on it, because that sleeve is a much later edition.
I
Well,
feel
okay,
like I've
hang
been
on.
in this
Yeah.
exact position that Fuller's in, where you get so excited that you've achieved something, and then you get all the higher ups excited about it, and then after they're excited about it, you're like, oh wait a minute, oh shit, oh god,
Oh, this might
I
be
screwed
wrong.
up. Wait, no, oh no. It's got
But
the
this
sleeve
is
on.
another
Okay, I
interesting
didn't-
thing. Like, this only has value because of the story you're telling yourself about it. Like, this exact item, if it stabbed Christ, it's priceless. If it didn't, it's worthless.
Right.
Like, it's
Although you could
entirely-
also say to these guys here, or at least to Weber, it's only priceless because his boss wants it.
Yeah,
like,
that's
like
true, yeah.
if he thought that he could get past Hitler that it was a fake, it would still be priceless.
Yeah.
And important to him. Which, by the way, I think it's hysterical. He's like, we're taking away this is Hitler's prize. This is what he seeks or whatever. I forget what he says. But it's like, okay, it's the end of the war. We've already witnessed Hitler lose the Ark and then lose the Grail. So is he just like, okay, no. What I really want is the Spear of Destiny. That's the one. Those other two, they can go. But there's no egg on my face at all. I just want that lance.
It's a nice introduction to Fuller too, when he throws himself when there's a bomb like explodes
Yeah.
somewhere overhead, and he throws his body over the lance to protect it, which I think is interesting. It's a good way to introduce like what his values are.
Is the writing on the scabbard Latin?
I don't remember.
No.
It said, but it says, yeah, it probably is.
Okay. I was just
Says,
wondering, I'm looking.
Be kind, rewind.
Well, what's interesting, I'm just reading briefly about that. Longinus is the name given to the unnamed Roman soldier who pierced the side of Jesus with a lance, who in medieval traditions, described as a convert to Christianity. Because later you see him depicted in all sorts of medieval or Renaissance art, and he's like, Saint Longinus. And you're like, hold up.
Yeah, wait a
This
minute.
is the dude to like,
They'll canonize anybody.
Yeah. This is the dude who made sure Christ was dead?
Yeah. What about the guys who threw rocks at him and stuff? Are they saints?
I mean, I looked about, the Gospel of John and that sort of thing, and I kind of thought to myself, wow, that is a tough, okay, he converted to Christianity, I guess. All right.
Oh,
There's
it
a
is.
whole bunch of stuff, yeah.
It
He's
is Latin.
It was
venerated.
part of his plea deal.
Lance and nail of the Lord is what it actually says. Oh, so maybe when you look at the lance in the crate, there's a little package next to it. I wonder if that's the nail, which makes it even
Oh, my
dumber.
gosh.
Oh.
Because that's like there's literally just an exhibit in another museum. Like, none of it makes any sense.
That's weird. I'm trying to balance like how the movie is weird about it and how the characters in the movie are weird about it. You
Yeah.
know, like does
Yeah,
the movie not
yeah.
know what it's talking about, that there was actually that thing in Vienna, or does Fuller totally get that, but he's excited about this one for some reason that we don't understand? I don't know.
Well, I do like Indy kind of says like, you got a lot of nice stuff here, other people's
Oh, yeah.
stuff. But and I think that's a bit rich coming from Indy, whose whole career has been taking other people's stuff. But it's a good line.
Yeah, I think he's his hat is off to them. He's like, hey, you're taking other people's stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's
A lot
the
of nice
respect.
stuff.
This is from one professional to another. Hats off.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm reading real quick. The statue of St. Longinus, sculpted by Bernini, is one of the 4 in the niches beneath the dome of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. Check this out. A spear point fragment said to be from the Holy Lance is also conserved in the basilica. So they're saying the Lance of Longinus is right there in the Vatican, or at least the spear point is.
Yeah, I think there are like 4 or 5
that
people have claimed over the years to be the actual spear.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of them I think started coming out during the Crusades, because that's when they started going to the Holy Land. And like
you just wonder if there's a guy at the side of the road
no, there totally was.
Huckster.
There totally was.
You'll
like,
never
that's
guess what this is.
No, that was a big thing. And I mean, it went all the way back to Constantine, when Constantine's mom made a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. And this, like 300, 400 AD. And she made a pilgrimage, and she came back with a bunch of relics that was likely some huckster beside the road was like, hey, here's a piece of the true cross.
Never guess what this is. Yeah. Well, Pete, I have a question for you here. Is Mads Mikkelsen? Is he a Belloc figure here? Do they cast him or draw him as sort of as Belloc, the way he sort of shows up? What we know about him right now?
Right now, what I feel like, yes. I feel like when I see the rest of the movie, no. But like just the way that he's so concerned about this artifact, and he's willing to put his life on the line to save it. Yeah, that seems Belloc like.
I don't know. I disagree. I think he's more of he's more studious and nerdy than Belloc is.
Oh, that's true. I think
Fuller's excitement about the artifacts themselves, at least we see it with the lance. I think that's a little purer than Belloc's. Maybe I get the sense that Belloc is just in it for the chase, kind of like Indy is.
See, I'm going to completely disagree with you by saying one sentence. If only you spoke Jovitos. Belloc was the only one that bothered to learn like the actual language of the people.
Still, you kind of
understand the actual history of a piece.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just wanting a piece of loot.
But there's still the attitude there. Like you kind of get the sense that Belloc only learned Jovito so he could rub it in Indy's face, and just to get his operation running smoothly and make sure he got the idol.
Duolingo running, and he's just he's like, this is gonna be so great when I insult Indy about this.
Yeah.
I love that
Belloc
subscribes to Babbel or whatever.
Like
one of those
Rosetta
language
Stone.
apps.
Just talking into his phone. Yeah. Go chase that guy. Shoot him with arrows.
Well, they do definitely set him up as like, okay, this guy is not a Nazi. I mean, he's different then. He
seems not to be at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, just the way they introduce him, you're like, okay, all right, Belloc's always wearing white and he's French.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not German, and
Belloc's got the whole French archaeologist for hire sort of thing. Like he's a mercenary, where this guy seems much more. He's into it. He's into what he's doing. He would be there.
Well,
no matter who was there.
Belloc has that thing though. He says a radio for talking to God, and you're like, okay. And he says to Indy, "I understand. You want to see it opened as much as I do." That's really kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
He invites Indy to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's,
It's interesting because Belloc's a believer. Indy's not a believer. But it seems like Fuller is also a believer.
Totally.
Well, okay. I think, what's interesting is Indy, of course, has that, he has that conversion, that last minute conversion. I think he is a believer.
Well, I don't necessarily mean a believer in anything in particular. I just mean a believer in what he's searching for. Like he believes it holds power.
Right.
He believes it holds, meaning and power beyond its tangible value.
I would argue that Fuller throughout this movie might have that more than anybody about anything.
No, I agree.
He's
got
that singular focus thing about the dial.
That. Yeah. And he turns out to be right.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah.
To be clear, not about lots of other things.
Pete, I have a question for you. How do you feel about this movie?
We were talking about this offline. Like I got to see this with my dear friend Sully.
Yeah.
Frequent regular guest of the show, and his 2 sons and my wife, and we had a wonderful time. And I walked out of the show and I was like, this was great. This was so much fun. And I didn't see it a second time. And like as the days and weeks and months went by, my opinion about it went lower and lower and lower. I was like, I walk out of the theater like, this is great. And the more I thought about it, the less I liked it. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to be interested to revisit it. This is only the second time I will have seen it as we go through this.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is
see
cool.
How I feel about it.
We'll have a Pete watch.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've literally
We'll have
only
a
seen this movie
Pete watch.
once, which is kind of crazy to be doing
That
a
is crazy.
a
That's what I
by
mean. Yeah, there's something.
3-minute podcast about it.
I feel like we could have waited 10 years to do this season, but
No,
that
I
probably
agree.
wasn't going to work.
Oh,
I
that'd be so nice.
I am with you, Pete. I only saw this movie once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had no recollection of how it opened. When we did the first 3 minutes, I had no recollection. So it's very interesting to have an Indiana Jones movie that I've only seen one time, and we're going through it 3 minutes at a time.
Mm-hmm. I think I've
It's
seen
also-
it twice. I saw it again
Okay.
like a couple days after we saw it, Jerry, opening day.
And you liked it and still like it, correct? Or
I liked it and I still like it. The question I keep trying to shake and figure out, and maybe it might be the stupidest question at all, and you could ask this about any movie, but I keep wondering, like, why do we have this movie?
mm-hmm.
Like, what is the purpose of this movie? And you can say that about any movie, and it's still people had an idea, they made a movie, it's entertaining, you like it, whatever. But it does feel there's a weird sense of like, am I here because Harrison Ford is in it? Or am I here to see more Indiana Jones? Or am I here because it's summertime and there's a movie with Lucasfilm in front of it? Or what is the how do you justify the existence of this movie? Because it's not so awesome that you're like, oh, thank God they made that. But it's good, and I don't hate it, and I don't have any real hard problems with it or anything. But it is a little there's a tickle at the back of my brain about it. Like, why exactly did they make this movie?
Well, I've got a tickle at the back of my brain we haven't discussed yet about this 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Which, because Jerry, you talked about a lot how there are lots of references to other things. And originally, Last Crusade, well, I think a couple of movies, Spielberg wanted to open with a haunted castle. That he wanted to film a haunted castle in Scotland. And that never happened. And people kept billing this as that. Like this was finally going to be Steven Spielberg's haunted castle opening.
Yeah.
And I feel like we very much did not get that.
Right.
Even though we did get a castle, sort of.
Yeah. And we've had castles.
Because I remember when they were filming it and like leaks were coming out and everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to be the haunted castle. It's going to be the haunted castle.
Yeah.
Which I still think would be cool. I wish we
Wait.
would've
I
gotten that.
did like haunted.
Yeah. It
I
was
just don't know how they do haunted.
it was in Scotland or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, but
Castle.
haunted.
Scoop.
That's.
Yeah.
I can't. The thing. I got Pete. It's always when you actually get him. When you actually get him, it's kind of like you're watching him trip. He keeps tripping and falling down the stairs of laughter. What's funny, Tommy, is that I have the opposite take on this. I'm like, I completely understand why they made this movie or why they did it. Harrison Ford, I assume, really wanted to again. Crystal Skull, was just like grapefruit with whole milk. And that's in everybody's mouth in terms of Indiana Jones. And it's like, all right, look, we can do this. Let's do it again. Why not? It'll be a good time. It'll be great for the fans. It'll be fun. We'll reboot the whole thing. Disney now has it. They did well with Star Wars or The Mandalorian or whatever the hell else you want to say. Let's bring this on, and get a new, a reboot of the franchise, or at least a rejuvenation of it. See what else happens. Maybe it turns into a show. I don't know. But let's just do it and have fun.
Yeah.
And you're like, sure, I get that. And Crystal Skull didn't feel that way.
Right.
So why they did it, I completely understand.
Yeah, I understand those reasons.
Yeah. I was disappointed when the movie came out after watching it, because I think I'm realizing now that I'm the person.
I like how you said that.
Well, I'm the person who had very high hopes for this. Apparently, most people did not. They just wanted it to be better than Crystal Skull, and I convinced myself that I'd be like, look, if they're going through all this trouble, I bet you this is going to be like an A of
But
a movie.
it always kills me when you say that. You're like, well, they're not going to go make a bad movie. They're gonna try really hard, and it's gonna be great. I'm like, everybody tries to make a good movie. Movies are really hard, so you're not gonna it just happens. Sometimes it's just bad. You can't help it.
Speaking of, here's something I keep wrestling with, and I'm curious if this will pan out. But I'm not convinced that this is a better movie than Crystal Skull.
No.
Whoa.
And I'll be interested, at least from being a fan of Indiana Jones standpoint.
Clutch your pearls.
So yeah, I'll be interested
I'll say I
hold that
firmly
opinion.
think that it is much better than Crystal Skull. It feels like more of a movie than Crystal Skull to me. And one nice
Does it
thing
feel
that
more of an Indiana Jones movie than Crystal Skull to you?
not necessarily. No, that's one of the weird things about it. But
Yeah.
I would still rather watch this than Crystal Skull. And one weird sense that I did get from the movie, and we don't have to go on and on. We got a lot of episodes to talk about this, but but I did get the sense like, oh, okay, if this had been like James Bond and they had made like one of these a year since
Yeah.
like 1980, this is kind of what it would be like. They wouldn't all be by Steven Spielberg, but they'd all have Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And if we had like
Some might
10
be
Indiana Jones
amazing.
movies, it'd be, well, yeah. And I don't even want that. I didn't want more than 3. 3 was perfect. They ended this thing so well in 1989 or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting. That's kind of what it is. It's like a peek into another universe where there were other people making Indiana Jones movies,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm still glad that Steven Spielberg didn't make this one, and I feel like we would have gotten more of a Crystal Scully kind of thing.
I'm not with you on that. I don't think. I think I would have
Okay.
liked this more if Steven Spielberg had made it.
We'll wait and see, but I had a feeling that this was way better than Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real movie, whereas Crystal Skull's kind of let's try to do another Indiana Jones for some reason.
I don't understand what's happening because I hated Crystal Skull.
Yeah, you're weird, Pete.
And now
You're
here
weird.
I am
You're
like,
going through a
it was
thing.
to a real movie. It is to a real movie. it was more Indiana Jones than this will ever be. And he was
Dude,
Yeah.
this entire podcast for you has been like basically when the skull is talking to who is it? Who's the guy it talks to and messes up their brain?
Oxley?
yeah, Ox.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Oxman.
yeah. That's basically you, Pete.
Yeah.
And like the Oxman, unlike the Oxman, I'm not sure I ever got my sanity back.
You're just standing there swinging your bull thing around and having a grand old time, whatever you're doing.
I just have to say I love you guys. This is fun. I'm glad we're doing this again.
Oh, me too. I said, off the air, I'm like, this is weird. I'm kind of looking forward to recording with you
Yeah.
guys. This will be kind of nice.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Indiana Jones in a long time.
We haven't talked. No,
No.
no.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We're out of
It is.
movies.
Yeah.
It's good
Oh,
to
we
see 'em.
stopped the slumber parties.
We did. You guys should
That's
come
what
over
happens.
again.
And I'm
Hot
gonna
Pockets.
throw out a Tom Taylor line here. Are we actually talking about Indiana Jones now, or are we talking about fan fiction?
Oh,
I'll revisit
Wow.
that maybe as this goes
Pete
on.
got dark.
yeah. I'm just trying to have a nice time, Pete.
I remember thinking that this movie was smack dab right in the middle. I think it was my third favorite.
Oh, I never thought it was. For me, it was always after I walked out of it, I thought it was 4. But as time has gone on, it's definitely 5. But it'll be interesting. Again, I've only seen it once, so maybe
We'll see what happens.
I'll love it after we watch it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I
what
really
happens.
recommend, only watching it for homework, 3 minutes at a time, and then talking about it late at night. That's a good way to watch a movie. Yeah, you'll be all right.
That's a
You're gonna
great way
get
to
the
watch
most
it.
out of it. Is there anything coming in over any kind of wire or anything, or
No.
no?
Wait a minute. Jerry
No.
always does this, and then he's like, "No, hold on, wait a minute."
Blowing the dust off. It's coming to life.
Oh,
Tick 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 tick. Coming in over the wire from Professor Christy Porter. Whose castle was it, and why did the owner have the lance of Hoosie Goose? So wait, Pete, do we actually know whose castle this is, and why does the person have the lance of Hoosie Goose?
No, I think it's no. I don't think we know whose castle it is. I think my guess is it was a castle that some Nazi appropriated.
Yeah.
And then all this art was taken because Indy says it's other people's art, so I think art was all looted. And I'm guessing that since they're rolling the lance of Hoosie Goose on the cart, it seems like that was looted also.
Hey, just so we don't get letters, I just looked it up on the Wikipedia, whatever, the Indiana Jones wiki, and apparently this is a French castle.
Why?
In the French Alps.
Huh. Well,
Really?
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Really?
so this lets us really pinpoint the date because Hitler went into his bunker in mid-January of 1945, and I think the Allies invaded Germany proper in like mid-March. So that means this has to be sometime in February or early March of 1945. If they're in France still, if they're not in Germany.
Now we know.
They seem like they might be dressed a little warmer if that were the case.
So what is Indy actually doing here? Like he's a spy, and you're like, okay, fine. Is he a spy? Is he looking for the?
Yeah, he never says what he's doing here.
Yeah, what did he hope to accomplish? Like, even if he is here to like specifically save stuff, like what was he going to do?
Yeah. Or was he going to like put it in his pockets?
Yeah.
Or was he going to like
steal
make a phone call and be like, yeah, it's all in the castle?
How many times has Indy gotten caught in his life?
Oh.
Does he always get? Is that part of the plan? Is his plan usually involve getting caught?
He's like, the easiest way to get into that place is to get caught, and then they'll bring me in there.
And then they'll bring me in there.
The Trojan Indy.
I don't know. I'm sure minutes 4 through 6 will tell us.
I bet they will, Jerry. I bet they will. Yeah, 4 through 6. You should come back next week to hear us talk about those. We'll find out what those dogs find in the woods. We'll hear Nazis yelling at each other and stuff. It's going to be a party. We might even get on a train. I don't know. Do we get on a train next time? We'll see. We'll find out. Come back and find out. In the meantime, you can find us online at indianajonesminute.com. You can support this show over at patreon.com/IndianaJonesMinute, where you can get early access to this show. You can get our bonus show, Anything Goes, over there. You can also get postcards from the three of us. Pete really wants you to do that because he loves writing postcards and he wants to talk to you. So get on it. And you can find us on Facebook and whatever, Instagram, all those places. Look it up. You'll find us. But thank you very much for listening. It's good to be back. We hope you think so too. And we will be back next week with minutes 4 through 6 of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny right here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Are you alone?
Huh?
Spy? Are you alone?
Want a cookie or a...
5 more minutes, Mom. 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Pete, do it, Pete. But make it the most comforting you can.
I'm not a comforting individual. I can't do that.
Oh, I disagree.
Wait, I'm going to try. Are you alone?
Would you like to be?
It's not. It's not.
It's creepy.
You just did it on "What are you wearing?" voice. Not.
I know.
He's not like nibbling on your earlobe. He's just he's offering you like a pillow and maybe like a foot rub.
It's soothing and comforting. It's not. Yeah.
Do you know where your mom is?